You're Jim, senior
Yes.
producer, Saints Row 4. Welcome, well, Mr. President, I guess, because we've got
Yes,
an
right.
awesome setup here with the presidential table and a cigar. I don't know if it's your cigar or,
Yeah, not my cigar.
or
No.
Ms. Lewinsky's. I don't know.
Right, as the case may be. It's, it's Saints Row. You never know.
You
have
never
to
know.
ask.
And that is the thing with Saints Row. I played your game, and I was just imagining how your brainstorming sessions would be. Could you give us a view in your brainstorming sessions? How does it work? Are you like on this table and people gather around?
Oh my God, no, it's nothing like that. Actually, thank God. It's the thing is, this is a big team effort, right? So usually, what ends up happening are the designers will get together and just talk about all kinds of ideas. But the cool thing with Volition is that everyone, it doesn't matter whether you're a designer or an artist or a programmer, everyone is fair game to come up with some of the crazy ideas that we do.
Yeah.
And so usually it starts off with just like any other developer. You just get together and have meetings and do big brainstorming sessions. And for us, a lot of times early on, it will start off with what are the major features that we want to introduce. So to give you an example, in Saints Row 4, the superpowers were the first big thing that we knew we wanted to do.
Okay.
And that being that, it's going to help out with things like navigation by being able to super jump and super sprint through the world to, having these offensive abilities like blast and stomp and things like that. But then the trick is that we started to think about balancing is going to be tough because if you're fighting against a bunch of gang members, how are you going to balance a game where you've got superpowers, but there's just gang members? Like, what are you going to do? And that's when you start to think about things like aliens. And so now we can do aliens that have their own technologies and their own superpowers themselves and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So
how did that work in the beginning? Was like you ended Saints Row the Third, and there were like rumors that there was gonna be a DLC
Yes.
or something.
yeah, it was an expansion pack, and we did announce it at one point. And so there were basically two groups as Saints Row the Third was ending. There was Saints Row 4. We started technically a couple months before Saints Row 3 ended. And we started working on Saints Row 4, and then another smaller group started working on, it was called Enter the Dominatrix, which was going to be this expansion pack for Saints Row the Third. And as we continued along, what ended up happening is that THQ, Jason Rubin joined and became the president of THQ, and he had the idea of, rather than having these separate groups working on separate things, what do you think about doing a singular game and bring some of those elements from the expansion pack into the full game? And we loved that idea because our feeling was that there were things we were doing in the expansion pack that I know the team was very proud of. Excuse me. And but the problem was, being an expansion pack, you wouldn't have the time to polish it in exactly the way you'd want and really blow out the features. But you bring it into a full game, and now you do have the time to be able to do all that. So
was there like when you ended Saints Row the Third, you guys were before that you were starting with Saints Row 4. Superpowers were the first which came, but what I am interested in is what was the first, landscape you built for Saints Row 4? What was the idea? Was the idea this has to be more over the top? This has to be funnier, weirder? What was the idea?
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything actually, right? Because we're certainly aware of the trajectory that the series has gone. Like starting off with Saints Row 1, where it was it was a pretty straightforward open world game that was
Pretty serious even.
Absolutely. And then, but the thing that we found was that the thing that people really responded to were some of the humorous things we had in Saints Row 1. So the thought was in Saints Row 2, like, let's try to do more of that and see what happens. And what happened was that they loved those parts. And don't get me wrong, there are some people who still love the very serious sort of game. And, we try to do things to still appeal to those people and fans of the earlier games by bringing back some of the characters and whatnot. But the majority of people seem to really respond to the crazy things. And that's why by the time we got to the third, the thought was, let's just go all in and just go as crazy as we can.
And now you go all in and over.
Now we go over, exactly. Yeah, and like I say, I think the key for us and the way that I think we make it work is that we try not to just do over the top for the sake of being over the top. So while we're totally mindful that, we keep kind of upping the ante each time we do it, we want to make sure, though, that we're doing fun gameplay to support it. So, for example, it wasn't like we just want to introduce aliens because it just sounds crazy. Again, it was like aliens will be a perfect counterpoint to you with superpowers, or you being the president. That's absurd. But at the same time, it feels like it's in a strange Saints Row way, I realize, but it's almost a logical conclusion in the sense that you start off trying to join the Saints in Saints Row 1, then you're the leader of the Saints in Saints Row 2, then in Saints Row 3, you're this huge pop culture icon. So why wouldn't you be president in Saints Row 4?
So one of the things that I really wanted to know is, at the beginning of the game, you're a president.
Right.
And it's awesome. I mean, the choice you have to make between curing cancer and saving all people from hunger, it's awesome awesome.
We love watching people's choices on that one.
Oh, yeah. I chose cancer. Is that
That's the predominant one that we have
Oh,
found.
really? Because
cancer.
I know a lot of people in Western Europe know people with cancer, but nobody knows
Absolutely.
people with hunger. I
Yep,
think that's the reason.
I've had exactly the same theory as well.
Okay, well, but what I wanted to know, back to my question. What I wanted to know is you're present, and I thought it was awesome, but very soon in the game, which is, of course, in every free roaming game, you have to go back to down and build up again.
Yes.
But that feeling of present was so awesome. I want to be present more than just in the beginning. Without giving away a little bit of spoilers, but will my satisfaction be completed again? Because I want to be present again.
Yeah, it's a tough one to answer without giving you a spoiler. So I'll say this. They've definitely abducted you from the Earth, and so your time as president of the United States is over by the time they abduct you. But we try to do some things to maybe fill the void of you having been president.
Okay.
I'll tease you with that.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're coming to a final question. I don't know, depends.
Yeah, sure.
There are so many new things in this game. You're president. You have superpowers. You have aliens. Isn't it too much, or how do you make it not too much?
It's funny you ask that because we talk about that a lot. I mean, like how far is too far? Yeah. And usually, like the way that we do things, we tend to say there's nothing that's too far. We just, as long as it makes sense, some sort of logical sense, and as long as it's fun, then it's okay. But we still try not to we try to make sure that it's not too far. And I think that the key for us with Saints Row 4 is that the story, I think, has done a great job of trying to weave all this stuff together in a way that when you see it and you go through the experience in a very twisted Saints Row way, to be sure, but it all kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense how you become president, and then it kind of makes sense why you get superpowers. And within the world, exactly. And so, we try not to violate the logic that we've already built into this world. And I think that's what lets us get away with all the crazy things that we do, because we know that it still kind of makes sense within our twisted world. And so I think that's what we do to kind of keep ourselves honest. And then we think as long as we think it's funny and entertaining, then our hope is that the fans will as well.
Yeah. What are you most proud of in this game? And you can give any answer you want, but I hope you'll give an answer that people can search for in the game, because a lot of developers I talk to say, I've worked so hard on that and nobody plays it. Nobody sees it. So give me an example what you're very proud of.
God, okay, well, so thinking of it, putting it in that terms, I'll tell you one that I tend to think about a lot, and that is in each of our Saints Row games, we have these challenges where kind of buried in the menus are these fun things that you can go do, like how many miles have you driven, things of that nature. A lot of games do that, but what we've done in Saints Row 4 is we've brought it to the forefront a lot more. So there's actually a quest area where you can see what your main missions are, what your side missions are, and then the challenges, and they're all listed. And the reason why I really like the challenges, particularly in this one, is that there are rewards for everything. Really? Every challenge that's in the game, you get a reward. So it could be everything from like a new outfit to a new weapon costume to a new superpower. I mean, there are some really cool rewards that you get from it. So that's one where I'm excited for people to see, because a lot of people, they will just play the missions, or maybe they'll just play the open world, and that's awesome. Like it's all player choice. So however a player wants to do it, that's totally cool. But the challenges are ones that I think if people, like, when they delve into it and they see all the things they can get from doing them, I hope that people will really dive into that one. So
I think that will make I'll just day cross off the list. If you can unlock things, people are like, we want to do it.
That's exactly, and I'm that kind of gamer as well in any game I play. So that's why we figured once we give some rewards there, I bet that will work.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for this conversation and your Mr. President desk. And good luck with lunch.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out.